Ever been in the wrong place at the wrong time? I sure have, and I'm sure that you have too. Now, if you're watching this video, luckily for you, it didn't cost you your life, but sometimes it does, and Marie Antoinette is one of those people. I'm going to tell you the tragic story of Marie Antoinette, the tragic Queen of France. And before I go on, I want to give a shout out to Ryan's AP Euro class, Hannah, Sierra, and Tori. Thanks for watching and supporting my work. Now, in order to understand what happened to Marie Antoinette, we first have to lay some groundwork. Keep in mind that the introductory lecture for this series is online. If you haven't watched it already, go ahead and take a look at it. And you will see that women were thought of as a corrupting influence. And whether you look at the story of Pandora or the story of Adam and Eve, we see that otherwise good men are being corrupted by women who give bad advice, and thus women need to stay out of the political sphere and all of that kind of stuff. And also women make convenient scapegoats. And Marie Antoinette was a young queen from Austria. All she really did was, well, marry the King of France at a very turbulent time in French history. Wrong place, wrong time. And this young Austrian queen very early is embroiled in a scandal that she really had nothing to do with. The diamond necklace affair, this goes all the way back to Louis XV, who had this mistress that he was just enamored with. And he decided that he wanted her to have the greatest diamond necklace that anyone had ever made. So he goes to a couple German guys and he's like, get this done. I want you to put together the most awesome collection of diamonds ever. Well, it takes these guys a while to get their work done, and in the course of that time, Louis XV dies of smallpox. Louis XV's mistress is shown the door. It's time for you to go, all right? Your time is up, that sort of thing. But these guys are still left holding the bag, or in this case, holding the necklace, and they're thinking, gosh, it really would be nice to get rid of this, but nobody outside of royalty really has enough money for this. And they tried to sell it to Marie Antoinette, and Marie Antoinette's like, no. Now, conflicting accounts say that Marie Antoinette said this necklace could be sold to equip a warship or something like that. Or possibly she just did not want to wear a necklace that was originally designed for a royal mistress, a courtesan, if you will. But she didn't want it. And these guys are holding the necklace, and there was this woman, I forget her name, it really doesn't matter, but she decided to try to defraud these jewelers to get a hold of the necklace. So she started telling everybody she was friends with Marie Antoinette, and people started to believe her. You say something enough times, and it becomes true. And this woman about defrauds these guys, and she says that I'm buying it on behalf of my friend, the Queen. And finally, Marie Antoinette realizes what's going on. She's like, I didn't do that. But there's already a trial. There's already this big public spectacle. And Marie Antoinette's name gets mixed up in this whole thing. So it doesn't really matter that she wasn't involved. What matters is that people associated her with this. What matters is that people think she was involved. Perception is reality here. It's no different in the case of Marie Antoinette. So there you go. And then, tragically again, Marie Antoinette is known primarily for saying something that she never said. This whole idea that there were these angry people outside of the palace, and Marie Antoinette asks, what's going on? And someone tells her, these people have no bread. Well, Marie Antoinette says, well, that's horrible. And she looks at the cake that she's eating and she says, they have no bread. Well, let them eat cake. Is anybody really that stupid? I don't know. I would hope not. But again, what matters here is not what she actually said or didn't say, but what gets associated with Marie Antoinette. So here is yet another PR disaster. She said, what? That sort of thing, all right? And doesn't matter if it was said. It was said that it was said. And that's the thing, that Marie Antoinette really becomes a scapegoat for all of the extravagance of the French monarchy, which neither began nor ended with her. Well, I guess it kind of did end with her because that sort of thing. But she didn't start it, but it's very easy to target this otherwise innocent Austrian woman. And they gave her nicknames like Madame Deficit. You know, it's her fault that the French government is in so much debt. She becomes the symbol of all of this royal extravagance. And then she is called l'Autrichienne. I might have messed that up a little bit, still working on my French, but this means the Austrian woman, okay, quite literally, the Austrian woman. So they call her l'Austrian woman, l'Autrichienne. Now, the thing is that Chien is also a word for a dog of the female variety. So here is a Chien nursing puppies. So really, depending on how you mean it, it could mean the Austrian woman or the Austrian dog of the female variety. Someone could say, did you just insult the queen? Insult the queen? No, not me. I was just talking about her as a woman. Austrian woman. Get your mind out of the gutter. And Marie Antoinette is actually the target of the Women's March on Versailles. When these angry women marched to Versailles in October of 1789, they really wanted to kill her. Now, they were kind of talked down, and the king and queen say, well, we're going to come to Paris, and maybe you won't kill us, or something like that. I've heard that some of these women actually got into the palace and went into her bedchamber where they thought she would be and started trying to get her, and that sort of thing. But people really hated this woman. I mean, it's really just unlike anything that I think exists in our culture today. Now, so she's brought back to Paris. Now, give it a few years, and in 1793, guillotine, all right, that her head is cut off, and we see here in this painting that this guy is holding her head up for everybody to see. Here is this Madame Deficit, this Autrichienne, this Austrian woman, if you will, and here she is. This is a celebration. We have gotten rid of royal tyranny. And this is a little sketch by Jacques-Louis David, who is a neoclassical painter. This is Marie Antoinette on the way to the guillotine. Now notice her in very plain clothes. Notice that she is not depicted as beautiful in any way, which you can see through the paintings of her, that she was a very beautiful woman, and people said as much. And she is in very plain clothes. Her face looks ugly. She's wearing a French Republican cap. Her hair has been cut short in order to humiliate her. And this woman is really just dragged through the mud, figuratively, literally, just brought around in an animal cart and had her head cut off. But that's neither here nor there. And this is the same guy who painted the death of Socrates. Now, Socrates is one of the greatest people who ever lived. My own students know how much I love Socrates. And he also painted the death of Marat, who was really a mass murderer of sorts. I'm going to talk about him in my segment on Charlotte Corday that you'll want to be sure to watch. But there's the death of Marat. There's the death of Socrates. Marat, again, so heroic, so beautiful. But Marie Antoinette is not even worth a painting. Not even worth a good drawing or anything like that. And this woman just dragged to her death like this and meets this kind of disgrace when she really didn't do anything wrong. And this is what's noted by Edmund Burke, who I'm going to talk about in another segment on Mary Wollstonecraft. But Edmund Burke was a British member of Parliament. Now keep in mind, a lot of British people were looking at this revolution and they were just horrified by what they saw. And after the death of Marie Antoinette, Burke says, "Little did I dream that I should have lived to see such disasters fallen upon her. In a nation of gallant men, in a nation of men of honor and of cavaliers, I thought 10,000 swords must have leaped from their scabbards to avenge even a look that threatened her with an insult. That surely men of honor would have stood up to defend their queen." Now keep in mind that Burke's more of a conservative figure, and there are some people who may say that, well, this is a victory for women's rights. Women are being treated the same way as men. Their heads can get cut off too. Yay, equality, or something like that. But that's not the way that Burke sees it. "But the age of chivalry is gone," Burke goes on to say. "That of sophisters, economists, and calculators has succeeded, and the glory of Europe is extinguished forever." And this is what we see as far as the French Revolution, that we see the beginning of a new way of doing things. And while somebody who is more conservative may mourn this as a tragedy, somebody who is a radical, or maybe even in some ways a liberal or a feminist, you see that some different things are coming. That as a result of the French Revolution, the world will no longer be the same as it was. And the old ideas of gender roles and chivalry, that while they may continue to persist, they will not persist in the same way. And this is going to be the time where Olympe de Gouges, who I'm going to talk about in my next segment, is going to have the nerve to write the Declaration of the Rights of Woman and the Female Citizen, that she is going to demand a change in how we look at the relationship between the sexes. So hopefully you will end up clicking that and keep going with the series, because we've got 3 more segments to go, 3 more women to talk about as we look at women and the French Revolution. Thanks for watching. To be continued.